Yeah? Okay, good. Let's open up this. Come on. Come on. Hey, fucking Windows. Get over there. Okay. Last thing. There. Then I can bring this over and the notes over. Okay. Wait, how come I didn't? Oh well. Hey guys, it's Turek. And today, oh, last night I think it was even. Chapter 1103 came out, and I was not, I was not expecting this one because this one is a full week early. This one was supposed to, and this, so the official chapter comes out. Um, isn't that supposed to be? Oh, maybe there wasn't a break. I thought there was supposed to be a break this week. Is my understanding because of the holidays, and Oda would come out a new chapter in next week. The being like the third, the chapter would leak around the third of next year now. I wasn't wrong on that one. I think I misunderstood that one. And so, anyways, there's a few versions of this that came out, and they're all very interesting. I'm gonna go hold on a minute, cause wait a minute. What is going on now? Hold on, I'm not recording. What? Current bit rate. Hold on, and it's not recording. Stop. Ring nose. No, let's do it over again. Oh, screw you. All right, let's start over again. It's recording now. Okay, hey guys, it's Turek, and today is chapter, or even last night, I think it is chapter 1100 of 3 of One Piece came out. Uh, I was not expecting this to come out, so I'm a little out of breath. Like I was like rushing to get my stuff set up here for this stream recording because I thought this chapter was. I thought there was supposed to be a break this week. I must have misread something somewhere. No, I didn't say there was a break. I just assumed so. I thought for sure. I was looking at the Shonen Jump app this morning. I thought for sure it said the next chapter was coming out in 9 days, which would place it, yeah, next Sunday or Saturday. Let's see, is that right? Anyways, whether or not it is, it's out now, and uh, I'm I'm very excited it came out. I needed something to distribute. I was from my other research. I was trying to go through Dressrosa yesterday. The anime, man, is that thing a drag? Uh, I read the manga earlier this week. I was starting it last week, and that just flies by. I finished that in like 3 nights worth of time. Um, Not all night. So like it takes like it's like if I finish that in 3 to 4 hours, I can really go through the chapters much faster than I can watching them. And I don't know how fast some people read the manga, but yeah, 1002. Wait, it doesn't say. Yeah, new chapter coming out in 9 days. Okay. Anyways, so this This chapter is very it's going to confirm some things, and it raises even more questions. The main thing it confirms, no, I won't even get into that yet. It's it finally gets back to the present. Let's start with that. We're going to get back to the present. We ended the last chapter finishing off Kuma's backstory and seeing that's the last one was very interesting because it showed seeing some of Kuma and Bonnie's events parallel to the first half of the story of One Piece prior to the time skip. We saw Kuma meeting the Straw Hats at Thriller Bark. He even saw them at Sabaody when Luffy punched out that was it St. Charlos. And then he decided he was going to help the Straw Hats by sending them away so they can, because he knew they weren't ready for the new world. Which also tells me that he must have. I was always thinking about. I was saying in another video how his combat experience, or if I didn't, maybe I was thinking this. Like it's easy to see how much he's so much stronger than I am because he's got over a decade of combat experience fighting with the Revolutionary Army, fighting against in different battle zones across the New World and probably elsewhere. So, and the last chapter also had shown Bonnie as she was beginning to search for Kuma, and she was going on to different islands where she heard rumors he'd been, and he always avoided her. And I think some people realize this now, but I didn't at first either. But I think the main reason Kuma really avoided her was because he didn't want her to become a slave. That was his worst nightmare. Even if they went together, I think he was worried about being pursued all the time, particularly because Saturn made a direct threat when they first initialized their deal to help her, and then he became a warlord. That if he backed out of the deal at any point, Saturn assured Kuma, I would make her a slave. Excuse me. So I'm almost certain that's why he's avoided her. He avoided her that like I'm gonna say it's like a 1 year period. Yeah. So I always think that I'm always gonna point this out. Not always. I think the Straw Hats' first half of the story from East Blue until Sabaody, Marineford takes place over the course of about 6 months. So that's why I'm getting that 1 year because they make it pretty clear in here, if I understood it right, that it's about 6 months prior to Luffy leaving that Bonnie began looking for Kuma. So, about a 1 year period, she was looking for him. It's so. Anyway, let's get into the chapter, I guess, because I don't. There's a lot to talk about here. Let's move this a minute. Wait, which one did I want to use? There's two versions of this that happen here. And okay, maybe this one because this one has some slightly better. I'll check both as I feel. So this first one jumps back to, I'm guessing, the morning of the present day. So Egghead started the day before when Bonnie and Straw Hats arrived, and then CP0 arrives, and then the York's plan was initiated, and over the night, the Straw Hats and the Cypher Pole Alliance had to stop the Seraphim that York had unleashed upon them in order to try to take them out, and while waiting for the government to come and so she to seal her deal of becoming a celestial dragon herself. We never saw much of that stuff except the beginnings of the fight with Jinbei fighting S Shark, and then the pairs of Luffy and Lucci fighting S Bear, and what's his name with Zoro fighting S Hawk. After that, all we saw was the next morning where York was captured, and the Straw Hats and the others were all regrouped in the operation room on the Lavos phase. This part begins. Oh man, my nose is running today. Hold on a second. This part begins. We ended the last chapter technically right in the present as Bonnie, not the present, going back just a little bit to the probably this morning of where Bonnie has just finished absorbing and viewing all of Kuma's crucial memories that explain to her everything about why she's been confused about for the past 3.5 years in her search for Kuma, her dad. 3.5 years? 3 years, something like that, right? And here, 2 years. Oh god, no. Wait a minute. Anyways, so now we start the beginning of this with Kuma coming back to Bonnie, finding Bonnie there, probably right after the Seraphim have been stopped and New York is subdued, and she the first thing is that Vegapunk comes up to Bonnie and says, "Did you see everything in that bubble?" And Bonnie just says, "Yes, I did." And this actually upsets Vegapunk. Not upsets him. He's sad here because this was his promise. I'm trying to remember if they showed this now, but Kuma had apparently here made promise to. Vegapunk promised Kuma that he wouldn't let Bonnie see this stuff. I think he's still trying to protect her. He's being, the typical, the kind of the typical dad trope where they try and protect the child, and in a way a little too much. Now, I'm only saying that as far as his memories and telling her the truth. In the part of him protecting her in the way he did in the first half of the story where he was hiding from her, I kind of agree with that. I still would have gone, if I was me, I would have found Bonnie and told her and went off with her to hide from the cipher pole and stuff. But in this part, I don't agree with Kuma. She needs to know the truth, for sure. Even if you did stay away from her, she needed the truth no matter what. So I'm glad she found this. And Vegapunk's like, oh crap! Now I broke my promise to Kuma. But Bonnie here, this is such a sweet moment. Bonnie comes up to Vegapunk and she's in her little girl form. When I say that, her real form, and she gives Vegapunk a hug and apologizes to him, and it's just really sweet. She, this is probably like the grandfather she never had. I know she has. Well, I wonder if Bulldog. She might see Bulldog kind of like that, but she has Connie, who's kind of like her grandmother. Kuma's her dad. Vegapunk could seem like the uncle or grandfather. Sentomaru's like her brother. Oh, wow. Oda's really going into that family stuff again like this, isn't he? I just realized if you think about each of these people's family members to her. And I don't know if there's any other relevance to this, but in the next part of this next page, Vegapunk has a gift that Kuma made and handed off to him. Vegapunk to give to Bonnie someday, Connie, and it's a necklace with a sapphire in the center, and it's got other gems on it. And it looks like a sun. It was for her. It's a present for her 10th birthday, and it's meant to represent Nika because of the sun. And Vegapunk also relays that apparently it's supposed to be a protective charm, which I think is mostly symbolic. We haven't saw anything in here where gems are special powers in this, but how does she know? Oh, she saw that, right. So the next thing is Vegapunk. So Vegapunk next is like, wow, it's funny that you came here at the same time as Straw Hat. And now Bonnie pieces together too, like, oh, because she's all in memory. Oh, Straw Hat, he's the son of Dragon, who was one of Daddy's friends. And Vegapunk goes to say, like, yeah, it's a weird twist of fate that the two of you, whose fathers are revolutionaries, came together at the same time, and also both of them are his friends, arrived at the same time on my island. Wait, why does it keep doing that? Sorry, I'm looking at the stream a second. It keeps telling me it's not working right, but I'm recording it, so I'll just upload it later. I don't know what's going on. Stop telling me. I don't care. Okay. Jesus. Now I want to edit that. Love it. So we finish out this flashback with Vegapunk explaining like while you were in there, a lot of stuff was happening. Uh, we have to go meet up with him now, and and then the last bit he apologizes to her for following Saturn's orders and doing this to her. He feels bad that as a scientist for hire he had to go forward with this. So like you can tell for sure, for instance, that he's probably never going to go work for the government again because he doesn't like. He's going to follow his own, morals to invent stuff. But Bonnie says, "No, don't worry about it, Vegapunk. I understand now. You were just following the orders of this asshole. That's the translation here is the real villain is him, meaning Saturn. So now we jump right to the present. Hold on a second. You know what? I forgot something else too. Just quickly get. I forgot I'm streaming. Come on. This. No. Oh. Okay, there it is. Where was that? No, this one. Yeah. We jump to the present where still Saturn is holding up Bonnie. Wait a minute now. Is that the last thing he said to her? I got a chance to check something. I forgot to look at this. Let's see. Come on. Let's go before the flashback. Right here. Captures them. Let's see. Oh, that's right. So the last thing Saturn had said to her is he was explaining to Bonnie about Kuma's origins, his race he came from. And we go into the continuation of that where he says to her, Julie Bonnie, your father Kuma is truly dead. Trying to like inspire, he's being an asshole at this point where he was saying a moment ago how he's going to kill everyone. And he said, which one you guys want to go first? And he's going to start with Bonnie though, because he's got her in his hand and he's got other Marines there, and he's ordering them to shoot her in the head there. And now he's really trying to drive home some despair to her right before she is killed. And the other Straw Hats and everyone are still here, and they're trying to. Sanji, Frankie, and Vegapunk are here, and as well as Atlas, and Luffy's there too to the side, and he's just. I think Kizaru is there, and Sanji, Vegapunk, Atlas, and Frankie are being restrained by some unseen force, and I still think this is related to Haki until we see something otherwise. And that's gonna come up later. I'm gonna bring up a bit of a tangent, but I suspect this is not. At this point, I still suspect this maybe. Well, I should say maybe related to Haki. There is that magic pentacle type thing. He appeared through. He transported himself from the ship to there. So it does seem that he has something some kind of magic teleportation ability, and but I'm wondering if this is like kind of like a Haki type attack he's using to freeze them. So, anyways, they're trying to remove the restraints. And especially Sanji because he wants to save the lady. And I can't wait for the moment he realizes that he's fawning over a little girl. Like, Sanji, you're going to jail if you don't stop worrying about this. Yeah. Anyways, and Luffy's there just saying, "Oh, someone please give me some food. I'm starving." And Atlas sees him saying that, and she's like, "I want to help, but I can't move either." And meanwhile, we see that Sentomaru's been captured by the Marines, and they got him all tied up. And Kizaru, I think Kizaru's having a moment's about to come up with Kizaru because he's there. He is worn out from fighting Luffy, which once again I must emphasize that I love, and I think it's amazing that Luffy now can go toe to toe with an admiral, and he's there, and it appears that he's saying, "Oh crap, my friends Bonnie and Sentomaru, they're about to be killed," and it doesn't imply say this, but the implication I'm reading here is that I think he's gonna be like, is it really worth my duty to kill these people who are my friends, Vegapunk, Sentomaru, Bonnie? So, um, so now we switched briefly here. We switched to some other panels where first we see the ships surrounding Egghead, and I think these are the radio is the word the bubbles we see here are the Marines down below trying to figure out what's going on, and one asks of someone else, probably radioing between ships, anywhere on the status of what's going on in the labo phase. And the other, someone else reports back, relays back, we don't know. We can't confirm anything for sure since Commodores and below aren't allowed to approach. And then we switch briefly to, so Morgan has learned about this situation, this part of it, like he's somehow watching, yeah, someone there, that's right, somebody there must be watching this, maybe like Caribou likely, and reporting what's going on. We know that whoever's doing it already reported that that Luffy was there with Vegapunk, and Morgans was gonna had put an article in the paper about Luffy kidnapping Vegapunk. Now I think he's updated about the siege because we see people talking about it. We jump to two different islands, one in the cold area. Oh, he's got a little snowman there too. How appropriate for this time of year. And these two people are like, "Oh, there's a siege with an emperor involved in this." And so his friend comments, "It'll be a miracle if there's no casualties in this kind of incident." And then in this other one, I don't know if we've seen these people, but there's someone else here. No, I don't know. This one, they got three people reading the paper, and one of them alone says, "This sounds like something that's even worse than Ohara. I hope Vegapunk will be all right." And now we switch to Dragon and Ivankov after Kuma has left. And wait, is that it? So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just reading a different version. So Dragon is trying to get advice from Ivankov, like what do you think Kuma would do if there's still like a trace of his humanity, of his memories there? What would his instincts take him? But and Vankov's like, well, if this was me, I'd be going to Marijwa and paying the celestial dragons a visit. But we know Kuma isn't like that. He's not vengeful. Let's see. Is that the right spot? Yeah. Anyway, so now we switch back to Bonnie with Saturn and the others, and she attempts to fight back. She uses her distorted future to buff up again and brings out her fist, the giant fist attack like she's used against Alpha, and attempts to attack him. And as she starts doing it, the first thing that Saturn's thinking about was like, is that like Nika's powers? But as she starts to bring her fist down, actually, yeah, there's something here. It doesn't work, and she's on. It starts. She starts returning to her just her adult form, and it appears at first that what's going on is that maybe Saturn's abilities are sucking away her powers, but he explains something else later. Now wait a minute. There was something here with this other translation. I was confused. One moment. Okay. He says here, I was confusing because there was a translate. I got two translations. Um, but first he goes to say, "Oh, because when she uses her tag, she just distorted Nika like future, and that's also what makes him think about Nika, Saturn, and he says, "Oh, you know that name? Well, that's not surprising because Kuma was a slave, and he would have probably told you about it." And he says, "You still don't seem to understand what it means." And in this translation I was first reading is like, she doesn't seem to have drawn the connection between Nika and Straw Hat's new form. But I was reading another translation where it said like it didn't seem to connect to her eternally yet. And there's something going on. So I thought he meant like, to get ahead a little bit in spoilers. Saturn understands where her powers came from. I'll get into in a minute. And I thought maybe he was thinking her powers would like incorporate Luffy somehow, like some kind of absorption, like Rogue. But I think that's just a translation error that's making me think that. And meanwhile, we get a moment here where we see someone has finally given Luffy some food, and he's eating it as fast as he can. And I think he's hoping to like rejuvenate himself so much so he can help in this situation. And Saturn's like, "Wait, where'd that food come from? Get cuffs on him immediately. We can't have him escaping." He's probably thinking, "Oh crap! If we let him get away now, I'm not gonna be the one to fuck this up." And there was a question I've seen people talk about, like, well, who would have given him food? I wonder if that might be Kizaru, because everyone else seemed like they're being pinned down. That's the thing too. I think Saturn is using whatever ability he's using. It does remind me of Haki in the way that he seems to be able to choose. He definitely can choose who he is restraining with this ability, because there are a dozen Marines around him, and they're pointing their guns at Bonnie right now. And there's still Frankie and Atlas and Vegapunk and Sanji there, and he's got them restrained. And he didn't seem to be doing it to Luffy here because he wasn't concerned. It looks like he might regret that, if you ask me. And oh wait, no, Kizaru's right there. So now we get to the good bit here of the a little exposition. Wait a minute, I gotta read this. Because there's two different versions of this, and each of them have different parts that are interesting. But the bottom line is here: first we see the submarines going after Luffy, and Kizaru is now sitting up, and it looks like he's like contemplating, like, what should I do in this situation? But now, we switch back to Bonnie, and she's like, "How come my abilities aren't working?" Uh, okay. She explained. Sorry, I'm reading ahead because I had it. So the thing we get here is this almost certainly confirms that Saturn is her dad. He starts by saying, I'm the one who gave you that ability. We conducted experiments where we were able to extract things from devil fruits and give them to people without feeding them the fruit. So I have to stop here first and say that this sounds exactly like what Vegapunk's been doing, and I shouldn't have been. I was realizing as I read this earlier, I shouldn't be surprised. This guy said in the last chapter, "I am a scientist." So I just was realizing, duh. He could be in his free time trying to conduct experiments about devil fruits. Maybe devil fruits are still kind of a mystery to the Gorosei. We still don't know for sure if they're like immortal or anything. And that's something else too. I'm sure some people are going to speculate that she can't. She sits here as he starts monologuing, like she's trying to exude her ability to change his age and disable him. Not disable him. Turn him into a kid probably so that she can escape, and it's not working. And my first thought is, oh, people are going to think, oh, if he's immortal, it nullifies her ability. But going with my theory that he's just using some kind of Haki, or he has very strong Haki, I'm surmising that in that instance, someone with extremely good Haki or a level of Haki probably can negate abilities like hers from affecting them. I was thinking about this too the other day. Like I was rereading Dressrosa and thinking about Sugar, who has the ability to turn people into toys and force them to obey her. I was wondering if that ability. We never get to see her. When she gets knocked out the final time, she was about to try to turn Law and Luffy into toys, and I was wondering, would she have been able to do that because of their level of hockey? Because we saw Law later from that point, and about 40 chapters ago, Doc Q used his ability to turn Law into a woman, but Law was able to reverse it with his hockey, and so I'm just surmising. And I remember this conversation coming up, discussion coming up with Luffy was, Tekken 101, who I watch a lot for my manga, to see how other people thinking. He's my favorite YouTuber to watch about this stuff. He was talking about how he thought, I forget her name now, from Wano, who can make the fruit, the little dumpling things and control people, that would not work on people like Kaido and Big Mom and such. So I've been thinking about this with this chapter, these chapters, and ones with Sugar, especially the last few days, and wondering whether or not if this is like a level of hockey where if you get enough hockey at one point, at this some point in your life, you can train yourself with that and increase your internal hockey. What I'm saying is that you don't necessarily have to exude conquers or something, and you level up your hockey, the amount you can like hold or something like that. That abilities like Bonnie's or Law's or Sugar's and the other girl have no effect on you right away. Like if and this is feeding into my suspicion of that right now. That if you unless he has some ability here where he negates devil fruits, well, that's still kind of what hockey could do. Like hockey's kind of the opposite to devil fruit, just something you can learn rather than consuming a fruit. Uh, uh, Wait, now where's that part? Not the right page. Let me check. 1 second. Pardon. Let me. I just want to make sure I'm getting these in the right order. Yeah. Okay. So he continues on saying, I'm trying to understand this. I'm trying to understand this explanation. He explains a bit about her fruit and how her ability to transform has to do with any perceived future that may be possible, but they can become limited as futures become more certain, as you uncover the truth of something. Differs from reality is another translation. And she said, I guess she's saying like that's because. Okay, yeah. That's messed up. Yeah. So her ability to transform, like she's been doing with her giant fist abilities, is because she wants to believe in Nika. If I'm understanding this right. Oh, okay. I got this now. So, and she yells back at him. As we see this too, now Kuma's starting to come in. I gotta get into Kuma's coming now. He's almost there, and we see him flying in there, and he's still all beat up and stuff. But he sees like he almost looks like he's got this determined look on his face. But as he's coming, and so we see Bonnie yell back at to Saturn like, "Don't try to tell me Nika's fake. I know he's real. I've been looking for him because so he can save my father. And I've been trying to do that ever since you turned him into a slave. It's your fault essentially." And Saturn retorts with, "Your father just passed down a Buccaneer legend." And he goes and says like, "One time I talked to your father as a child, and he told me he wants to save people just like Nika." So I understand where this story is coming from, essentially. So now we get the other revelation here. He goes on to say, wait, where'd that go? And this is where, so he goes on to explain that it was when your mother was brought on up to the Holy Land to be my wife, number 8. And he said it's ironic, really, because then she ended up being part of these experiments I had that. So he's saying here too is that the experiment let me go on first. And then he says, like other failures, she developed the sapphire scale. But then he says, I knew the results were poor, but I didn't expect the with that I didn't expect that this sapphire scale condition would pass to. Well, that mean this sapphire scale or her? So what I'm understanding through this reading is that two is that Ginny may have gained an ability through these experiments, but it didn't work because he was trying to get someone to gain these abilities without the sapphire scale, and so they got rid of her so that because it was contagious or something. No, was it contagious? No, maybe I'm just thinking that part. But Bonnie's what this does confirm though, if I'm understanding this right, is Bonnie did not eat the age fruit the way we were all speculating, like, oh, it came in some produce that was brought to her home on Sorbet Kingdom. What it appears to be meaning is that he maybe like Saturn has the age fruit in his possession and in a lab up in the Holy Land, and he's been experimenting. It's extracting from it. He's probably like keeping it there and taking samples off of it with somehow, and he's been making it into tonics or drugs or whatever, and feeding it to people in order to see if they can get the ability without eating it. And Ginny, unfortunately, was also part of these experiments as well as other. My guess is if this is she became wife number 8, the other 7 women were unfortunately probably part of these experiments as well as other people he would use as what's the word when you're using you need other what do they call them? Samples, not samples. They want other test subjects. That's what I'm looking for. The other people, we would probably have no idea how many other people other than these wives could have become test subjects for Saturn's experiments that he is explaining here. And then as he finishes this up, Kuma finally arrives, though. And as Kuma's arriving, and the other Marines are like, oh, what's that coming? And then we go back to Bonnie, and she's like, oh, this was all your fault? And then Vegapunk's listening to this as well as the others, I'm sure. And he's like, Saturn, you did those experiments? You did this to Bonnie and Ginny? He's basically throwing it all in his face. Like, you know you caused all this pain and suffering? Don't you understand? And Saturn here, you can see he has no morals or sympathy of any point. And he just retorts, look at it from my perspective. Do you comprehend the feelings of insects you step on? Of course not. And I like that they keep bringing up him using the insect metaphor because he looks like a spider, and spiders often prey on insects as their main way of sustenance. I know they can go after other animals sometimes, like rodents, and I think even snakes could be prey to certain spiders. But the insects is the typical thing we think of spiders eating, especially here in North America, or maybe other places do this too, where they have the ones that make webs in areas, and they wait for an insect to come in. And man, he's just a cold-hearted bastard. And we have to stop here and point this out. He said that Ginny's his wife, so we can assume that he is almost certainly the father. And so I had to stop a moment and just correct myself. Like, I was thinking it didn't really matter, and I still think it technically wouldn't, because we know celestial dragons are such terrible people. But to have this confirmation is really interesting and sad revelation for Bonnie, to know her father's this psychopath bureaucrat who's also like a scientist bureaucrat who like looks down upon everyone with such disdain and lack of like they're just insects to him that he rules over. And damn. Now, I already been seeing people in chat like, he has to die, and like I agree. I just don't know if he's going to yet. We're gonna have to wait a bit on that. So now we get to the end of the chapter. Oh, this is so good. This is gonna go a little faster now. So we get to the chat. We're getting toward the end of the chapter. The Marines first approach Kuma and say, "Wait, is that one of the pacifistas?" but then they identify him quickly because they see his paws, the pawpaw fruit, and they say, "Wait, no, that can't be one of the regular pacifistas. It's got to be the actual Kuma." And then they start reporting that to over Southwest Coast, reporting in, Kuma has made landfall. He's heading toward the center of the island. So they start going. They start trying to stop him, but he gets up immediately and starts running toward them. So um, there's definitely something going on here where his instincts have kicked in, something that's making him come to save Bonnie, and um, so they continue on with the report by saying we're trying to command him to stand down, but the command chips we have, the authority chips we have, are not working on him. So that's interesting too. I wasn't thinking about that before, but since he has been turned into a pacifista, they implant. That means Vegapunk implanted a command chip into him, like he did the clone ones. I keep forgetting they're like really clones. So these things are really are cyborgs that are living. I keep thinking of them as more as robots, and they do seem to be that way in the fact that how they listen, the machinery and weaponry involved. But that makes me feel a little sad when I think about it, because um, I just wonder if they can feel pain at all. And I know these things are being used as weapons against us, but the fact that they might be alive is like when Sanji and Luffy and Zoro took out those two a few months back, story wise, at the Sabaody arc, the return arc. I'm thinking, oh my god, those things, hopefully they didn't feel that, because like Sanji just broke the neck of it one. Um, wait a minute here. How did he, what is, uh, and this catches, so Saturn hears this too, and he's like, "Oh crap! What a dilemma now? How could Kuma come here?" And then Vegapunk's like, "Wait, how did he arrive here? What's going on?" And Bonnie here, I forgot to mention about after this revelation from Saturn, she's kind of losing her spirit. She was ready to fight back against Saturn a moment ago, but she just like looks like she's about to pass out. Yeah, this whole revelation is just getting to her now because she's absorbing all this very fast. She just this morning found out about her mother and what happened at the part from the point of her being captured and whatnot, and now she's absorbing this information from Saturn, and she's just talking to herself or thinking to herself like how I'm so scared now, and like how could this all can this all be the truth and such, and it's just like oh, I feel so bad for her having to learn all this stuff within hours. Uh, oh god. And as this is happening, Kuma's making, and we see Kuma making his way now toward her. He's, I don't see all that machinery on him though. I'm surprised we saw that stuff on him that when he left the island, with for Dragon and them, and stuff looks like I just saw flew off. And while he's going there, Kuma almost, and these scenes here, Kuma almost looks like an action hero. He's like running through and there's fire and gunfire, everything, because the Marines are all trying to bring him down. And some of them are starting to use bazookas, and even get another solid shot in his head. But he is not letting anything get through to him between him and Bonnie. And he's running toward her. And as this is going on, we see Bonnie's overlaid, but Bonnie's like giving up basically. Like, I don't know what to do now. And she starts saying the line from earlier. I think I'd be better off dead. And but this is gonna be quite the moment in the anime. So we keep seeing the Marines fire at him. We see this one great shot where he's like grimacing, and he's like, "Oh, you guys can't stop me." Like he must sense Bonnie here. I'm thinking, and he's getting real close here, and uh, and she starts crying. Yeah, Bonnie here starts crying here, and meanwhile this is happening. I guess the Marines are ready to just about shoot here as well because we see a shot again of her being held up, um, and then crying, and they're all still ready. It looks like they're about to shoot. And meanwhile, too, we see Sanji and Vegapunk looking on, and they're like, they can't do anything. And Sanji looks like he's like screaming aloud too, like he's like, I can't do anything. I can't let a woman die. And he's like, I feel for him that way. Like I'm glad he cares enough that way. And just like I keep laughing because he doesn't. Never mind. Anyways, and then Saturn's like, Saturn says, he just sits there like this. Your shrieking starting to annoy me, basically, and then he commands the Marines again blow her head off, and they get ready now to shoot. And just as they're about to do that, we see Kuma get close, and he throws off two Ursa shocks at the same time. I think that's the right name for him, right? On either side of Saturn. So we have this great shot of Saturn holding her up and from his front, and then we see all the Marines on either side just blow away as two shockwave. The bubble version just blow up around him. Um, um, and that moment causes Saturn to like drop her because he's like probably it doesn't show him surprised, but I'm assuming it because he just drops her here. Oh wait, no, I see what's going on. He realizes they can't shoot, so he drops her here and he's about to stomp on her. He drops her down, and she's just basically almost passed out at this point. And she's just saying to herself, I'm sorry, or saying to Kuma, thinking aloud, I'm sorry, Daddy. I tried really hard. I know you fought really hard for me to live, but I like, it's almost like she's given up living. Yeah, what am I getting at? She just said that. She's really, I'm sorry, there's so much going on here. I'm trying to convey this right. I'm trying to process the right way to say this. She literally looks like she's given up. And, oh, so yeah, Saturn just drops her here, and he lifts up one of his front legs, looks like his right one, and he's about to, yeah, it's right one. He's about to bring it down and stomp on her, kind of like, didn't he almost do that to Luffy earlier before Frankie came in? Uh, uh, wait, how do you do that there? Yeah, but right as this happens, Kuma just comes in and he picks up Bonnie with one hand and he puts it back between her and um, Saturn, similar to how Ace saved Luffy, and he just and takes that hit, but it doesn't appear to do any effect to him. Though it looked like it could have pierced him a little bit, but he's just there. He's all smoking and stuff, all the gunfire and stuff, but he's still standing. Um, and Bonnie's like sees him and is like, oh, and she like, screams and like happiness, like Daddy, you're here. And he doesn't respond though. He just still looks like he's thinking like a machine. And we see his one machine eye, and then we see his glass is over his other eye, and he just kind of like, I don't know if there's some kind of sound effects going on here. And I don't know if this is like just like little head turn things. Um, oh, and this endings. So then we see other people saying, "Oh, it's Kuma. He's here." On this the last panels we end with, Kuma puts down Bonnie. We don't actually see him do that, but he takes his one hand, grabs the leg of Saturn that was just trying to stabbed him, almost killed Bonnie, with his left hand, and he faces Saturn, and with his other right hand, he's pulling back his fist, and the last panel shows him aiming it towards Saturn's face. Meanwhile, Bonnie's still there sobbing away too, and Saturn's like, "Oh shit, I'm about to get punched in the face. There's nothing I can do." That's the look I'm seeing. And that's the end of the chapter. And I like the little text at the bottom: "A father's fury." Oh, end of the chapter. They don't say anything about a break, but how's that going to work then? Because this chapter came out, the official chapter of this is supposed to come out like the 7th or so of next year, 10 days from now about. So is that next week will the next chapter come out, or are we going to still have to wait 2 weeks? Anyways, so much to unpack in the middle of this. We gotta get over this. I gotta study some of this stuff. Like do another video. I should try and do another video. So Saturn is doing experiments similar to Vegapunk. He is apparently trying to learn about Zeva fruits. He's taking extractions of them, making drugs, and then giving them to people. He has these touch subjects. He's been doing it with his people, women. Apparently, we know for sure he confirmed it that he did it to Ginny. I'm assuming the other wives. And although he says wife number 8, like I'm just thinking like that wife number 8 in the last couple of years or something. Like is some of the other women not being experimented on? Maybe not. We'll see. And so he's doing that, giving it to test subjects in order to try and give them devil fruit abilities without them eating it. But apparently, the way he's due to what he's making, or it's probably like, we have to imagine like whatever ingredients he's putting in too, is poisoning the person, and then they contract the sapphire scale ability. Now that makes sense too why other doctors wouldn't know about it, because it's something he's doing in his own lab, I'm assuming, up in the Holy Land. And so that's my biggest thing. I'm glad we learned about how much of a douchebag he is, and we will hopefully get justice for Ginny. But now I'm like really pondering about why is he doing it? What is his goal in studying the devil fruits? Is he interested in their origin? Is their origin something outside of his understanding? It sounds like it is. If he's trying to give it to people, wanting to give them the abilities. What was the other thing I was gonna say with that? What was that bit again? Apparently he did not expect what he did, his experiments, to be passed to Bonnie. The way he says that, I'm still confused if he also just meant he didn't know the sapphire scale would become transmissible to a child of someone who contracted it first, or if he also just meant her abilities as well, or both maybe. The side effects and the positives were given there. So I want to unpack that a minute too briefly here. Something I want to go over later is apparently, if I'm understanding this right, Bonnie's abilities, she got them. When did she first start exhibiting her age abilities? About 3 to 4, no, about 5 years ago, right? So it took some years. First, she was like maybe 3 or 4, I think, when Kuma saw the sapphire scale. No, it's on this side. And then about 3 years after that, she starts developing her abilities to age herself to an adult. And slowly learned how to do other versions too, all the other stuff over time. But this seems to have been a result of the experimentation done to her mother. And he didn't. It seemed here that Saturn's never had this result before, where he gave something to a drug to a test subject, another person, and he probably just once they contracted the sapphire scale, I'm assuming he did away with them for safety reasons to himself and such, and he never considered that one of them having a child might gain the ability he is trying to achieve, as I understand it, from his experiments. The funny thing is that we see that Kuma has succeeded with this thing on some levels. This brings up a question too of whether or not this could work on humans. Kuma's doing all this on these clone / cyborg things he's made, the Seraphim. I'm curious if he can give them to other people. This, which seems to be the direct way that Saturn's doing. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. I'm gonna have to bring that up. But I was so wrong on that about Saturn not being the dad. He really is. There was something else I wanted to bring up, but I forgot what it was. I'll have to write it down for my next video. But I'm glad too that Bonnie and Vegapunk reconciled. Is that the right word? I can't think of the right word. And it's also cute because at this one point when we see Bonnie little, I like seeing her. Because Oda, I'm so used to seeing Oda draw children who are really little, and we have like the adults. But we see Bonnie here in this one page where she's there. We can see her 12-year-old form, and I just like how well Oda's done and making her look similar to her adult form, but you can see her being more youthful. I was starting to wonder if he would ever see that, because it just seemed like he never drew kids that age usually. Um, he did do, oh, of course, he did do Ginny and, no, Ginny was, how old was Ginny? She's older than him. We did see Ginny as a teenager, but she still kind of like looked like a little kid. Ivankov was kind of like that too. I guess also with girls, it was like with female characters. I never really seen him do that. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave the video for there today, and we'll have a lot to unpack, especially with these experiment stuff we can look at in another video. So thanks for watching.